I am Vinnie Tortorich, and folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry, I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent when we start this process, but hang in there. Before long, you shall be lean and mean. It's the Friday show. You know that means we don't mess around on this show. Well, sometimes we do. We bring Anna in and we'll do that kind of show, but I like to bring luminaries in, people with information that I generally don't have. This guy has been on the show before. He's a world-class athlete. That's not me saying that. That's the fact that South Africa sent him to the Olympics. I want to say it was Barcelona. That had to be 90, 92, whenever, 92. We'll ask him. But I think Barcelona. You see, I'm going off of memory. I don't write notes down. I don't look anything up. But then he went on to win somewhere between 7 and 10 world championships in surf skis. At one time, he either co-founded or founded Epic Kayak, and then went, screw that, Nilo is where it's at. And he started doing surf skis at Nilo. I'm talking about the great Oscar Chalupsky. How you doing, buddy?
Very well, Vinny, and really good to just be standing in front of you. Never mind just being with you.
Yeah. By the way, did I get any? Because Oscar, I don't do notes, and I go from memory. And I'm going from the last show you were on a couple of years ago. Olympics, was that 90 or 92? When were you in
92?
Barcelona?
You got it 100%. Barcelona, 1992. I was the South African captain of the whole team, and I was meant to carry the banner, but as I say, the political situation at the time, they said, okay, I think we need a person previously disadvantaged to carry the banner, which I happily accepted. Yeah. That was 92. And then 12-time world champion. I won my last world championships at age 49, which is unheard of in any sport. So yeah, I'm still beating most of the guys.
and by the way, Oscar, that wasn't an age group thing. You won that outright. Right before your 50th birthday.
Yeah, exactly. So the interesting thing, the guy came second. Listen to this. The story is so nice. In 1992, the guy came who won the gold medal at the 92 Olympics against Greg Barton from America, yeah. Knut Holman from Norway, was a young Australian called Clint Robinson. And in 2012, when I was 49, he came second by 10 seconds against me. So it's a small world, and he's still going, and he's a good friend and magnificent athlete. I mean, he won multiple gold medals, but I still got a lot on him. He's only won 3 Molokai, and I've won 12. So he's got a long way to catch up.
Yeah, you know what? In this lifetime, he'll never catch up with you. Yeah, Barton, was he the one that started Kayak Pro? Who started Kayak Pro?
I think that's another guy. He didn't start, but he is a most sort of focused and technical paddler, one of the best I like in the world. You know, so I'm very focused on technique, and I've got a lot of brawn and brain, but I concentrate on the brain the most, and he's one of those kind of guys, which I like. You know, at the end of the day, you can do as much as you like. When you get to our ages, you get slower. So the only way to get faster is to use your brains. And people got to do that.
You know, it's interesting. I'm sitting in my gym, as you can tell. I do all my things for my gym. I have a spinner right there. I have a Concept 2 rowing machine, and right next to it, you can actually in the mirror see my television on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
I have a Kayak Pro right next to that.
Nice.
So everything is, if I'm watching television, I'm moving.
Exactly.
Just the way it is. Except on a Kayak Pro, I keep the television off. I pull it down the wall and use the black screen as a mirror, because if you try to paddle one of those things without and watch television, at least for me, you're a pro. I'm not a pro.
Yeah.
My paddling goes to shit in about 3 minutes.
Absolutely.
Because you start watching television, elbows start dropping. You're not coming across your face and the whole thing. But if I just use that screen as a black mirror and I can see then I can keep it perfect.
Exactly.
It's all
that's
fun.
What it laughs about reflections and looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, this is good and that's bad. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's a good analogy of life, is that if you watching the mirror, you can correct yourself. If you watching TV all the time and not concentrating on that, how can you correct yourself? You can, and I like it. I mean, it actually came from somebody just the other day. I was listening to old, you probably know Tim Ferriss. If you can't measure it, you can't do it. You know,
Exactly.
And I'm one of those people.
You have to be able to quantify, but that's all athletes. You have to be able to quantify something. Otherwise, you're pissing in a wind. You know, I decided, you know, because I'm not competing at enough things, I wanted to become really good in skeet shooting. And so I had to come up with a plan. At least 5 days out of every week, I have to pull the trigger on a gun several hundred times. And then you start going, okay, it's not just about the repetition. If you're doing the repetition wrong, you will never get anywhere. So now you got to go find the right coach. And you got to, you know, and get 2 and 3 coaches, listen to all these opinions, find something in between all of them, right?
Exactly. But you'll love my old adage. It says, practice makes bullshit. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So, and that's my adage. Don't just practice shit. Go there and get better. Otherwise, you just practice makes permanent. And that is the most important thing in life. Don't practice shit because you just keep reiterating. And that's why you get so many people that go like this and they get fit and they don't worry about technique and they just get slower, training harder.
Yeah. Yeah, we talk about that type of thing on this show all the time. The great Mark Allen, the greatest triathlete of all time. Yeah. He came out second 6 years in a row at Ironman behind Dave Scott. Yeah. And then decided, wait, I keep working harder every year and I'm having more trouble getting to second place. And then miraculously won 6 in a row. Most people's careers are over by then, you know, burnt out. He came back and won 6. And all he did was got a different coach who said, you're working too hard. You need to slow down and get your technique right and get in zone 2 and build up some volume. That's what he did. That's
Dr. Phil, happened. Nothing wrong with Dr. Phil.
Phil Maffetone. Phil was on 2 weeks ago. He was on the.
No way.
Yeah. He was on the.
He's a good friend of Tim Noakes and Tim Noakes I know very well. And I've also, even me in this late stage, has started changing my training regime. Obviously been following Phil for about 6 years. And then funny enough, I just started, and this will be interesting for you, CrossFit. I mean, I've never been a gym guy because I just like to be out in the open and I like to do my technique and everything. And then I started CrossFit because of Tim Noakes. So now Tim Noakes is 76. And there I was after my cancer and I'm fucking useless. I couldn't do one burpee, couldn't do one push-up. And I could walk 800 meters off. That's 800 meters in 24 hours, my max. And I slowly, and he said, come and do CrossFit. And I slowly did. And now I have to say that I still can't do a pull-up, which pisses me off. I mean, can you imagine something I could do?
I can teach you,
I can't do one.
I can teach you how to do a pull-up.
Believe me, you can't. I just haven't got the strength, Vinnie. I mean, what can I do? But I'm working on it. Believe me.
It's all about, tell Tim, Tim knows me. Tell him Vinnie said, to get you to start working on negatives. So you need to
I do that. I'm doing
eccentric contraction. So in other words, if you're above the bar.
Yeah, and then let go slowly.
And then just let it go slowly, let it go slowly, let it go slowly. Because when you're lengthening and stretching a muscle, you're 40% stronger. So eventually, I can't believe you're a world-class paddler. You have lats for days, but it's all in the obliques with you guys. And you can't do a pull-up. That's amazing to me. One of the best athletes on the planet can't do a pull-up.
No, but remember, the cancer did affect me. I mean, I'm at the moment. In fact,
cancer schmancer. We'll get you doing pull-ups.
I just had that chemo, and the people say you're supposed to fall down. I didn't do that. I still did I do my CrossFit, and I'm gonna do 10 or 20 pull-ups. Believe me, Vinnie, I'm doing it. So what I do is I get the bar and I jump up. And I can get over there and I'll let go slowly. But geez, I cannot believe it. I mean, remember, I couldn't do one burpee. Now I can do 10 or 12 burpees. I can do that.
Nice.
So I'm slowly working it. And it's like, cancer, at the end of the day is that you read all the shit about how bad it is and it's not affecting me. I mean, the bottom line, I fast, and I'm on keto, and I have my chemo, and they give me, they care. Mr. Chalupsky, you've got to take this drug here because this is going to stop you vomiting and passing out. And I said, I don't want anything. I want nothing.
We're going to get into your cancer in a minute. I just want to keep nerding out on being an athlete. Yeah. You know, early on this show, we're probably at 1,920 or 30 shows at this point. Early on, first 40 shows, Tim Noakes came on for the first time. That was 10 years ago. Within the first 50 or 60 shows, I had Phil Maffetone on, you know, because we all, you know, to me, Tim Noakes is the rock star. He's done more studies than anyone on the planet. Most people can't get the money to do the studies that this man has done. It's just amazing. As a matter of fact, he was doing a podcast at the time when they started suing him for the most ridiculous things in the world.
That is so bad.
I went and did his podcast. You know, I would fill in and do his podcast. I don't know if he's still doing it or not, but I just didn't fill in. It's like, yeah, whenever you guys need me, I'll fill in. You know, it was just ridiculous.
The thing that really saddens me is that, and I know Tim very well. I've known him for 40 years. In fact, he did a research on me in 1981. So how long ago is that? So that's a long time ago.
You had to be 17 at the time, 16, 17?
No, I was 17, 18 years old, and I was winning races, and I wasn't drinking, and I wasn't doing the carb loading. And he said, this is impossible. How can that happen? And from that day on, he said, oh, no, I never forget the article. He said, no, this guy, Oscar, he doesn't run on blood. He runs on engine oil, and he just doesn't die, you know. So that's how we started, and we built up this good reputation and a good rapport. And again, everybody has their thing. He went down the carb route, and I never was quite into the carb loading. I said, listen, hey, I'm going to race a race. Why must I change everything just before the race to do carb loading? And I was anti it. And about 13, 14 years ago, a doctor from America, a guy called Eric Borgness, said, no, the way to go is fat. Yeah. And I told Tim about that. And that was the same time where he saw the light, saw the elephant in the room, and said, listen, this is the way to go. This carb stuff doesn't work, and it's worked magnificently for me and magnificently for him. And we've stayed in contact that whole time. And I love to actually go there and say you're wrong and admit it himself that he made a mistake, but not one doctor at his school, his old school and UCT University, apologized to him. He won the court case twice.
That's the crazy part. Yeah.
And they still couldn't have the guts to go and say, listen, apologize, we made a mistake. I was in hospital there, and they were still feeding me carbs. And I said, hey, didn't you watch the Tim Noakes thing? They were giving me carbs when I was in hospital for 3 weeks. As you know, what you go through. It really disappointed me.
Tim Noakes did two things that I love. One is when he publicly ripped the pages out of his best-selling book saying, my whole dietary protocol was wrong, and ripped it out. South Africa took a gasp and went, oh my God, what's this idiot doing? He was right. The other thing is, I was watching, you sent me a little blurb on your cancer, and Tim was in that, and he goes, yeah, this guy, when he went to the World Championships, he walked in there as a 17-year-old and said, hey, all of you guys are going for second place right now. That son of a bitch has always been like this. He didn't just start doing it. I love that. I love that kind of confidence when you go, hey, this is my race. I'm just putting you guys on notice. I'm winning this. And then you went out and did it, right?
That's the most important thing. I mean, again, and I've been like that for a long time, and maybe that's the things that help you in life, is that you got to put it out there. You know, too many people hide behind and say, I think I'm going to try and win. And then when they don't win, they don't have to worry. But when I've said, hey, listen, I'm going to win, then the people say, if you don't win, they're going to bust your butt. And I'm happy with that. And it's just an added motivation. And it's something that I've lived with from such a young age, funny enough. I mean, a little obnoxious, naughty little kid at 14 years old, winning my first, as I say, I made my first national team at 14 and 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Senior national team, 14 and 3 months against guys at 10, 15 years older than me. So it's unheard of. I was lucky. I was big and motivated.
Well, it somehow worked. Folks, we're talking to the great Oscar Chalupsky, and that's not actually the way you say his last name. We'll ask him to say it for us correctly. Right after I do this ad for Belcampo. Belcampo has been with us for, I thought they were coming on for like a 1 month deal. They wanted to try us out at the end of last year, and they went, hey, we love your podcast. We love what you do. You talk a lot about meat. We have a meat company. Anya Fernald called me personally, and I said, yeah, we'll give you 1 month at the end of the year. And they've been with us ever since, man. We're coming up on 9 months with Belcampo. We're over 9 months. We're coming up on 10 months with Belcampo. Anya Fernald is just doing incredible work over there. Belcampo.com. Go check out her Instagram. Not only is she a beautiful woman, the meat she is cooking is just delectable. It's, it means something when you look at Instagram and there's a hot chick, but you're looking more at what she's cooking. That tells you a lot about how great Belcampo is. Belcampo. You want to save 15% across the board? Put everything in your cart. When you get to checkout, put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, 15% off. If after that discount, you're at least at $100, you will get free shipping. That means a lot. It takes, look, you got dry ice. You got to pack this stuff up. It's heavy. It's expensive to ship. You will get free shipping right to your door, 15% off and over $100 free shipping. I noticed because I see all of it coming in, and people do around 103, 102. You guys are doing the math. You're getting it right. You're getting the free shipping plus 15% off. Belcampo.com, promo code Vinnie will save you a ton of money. We're talking to the great Oscar Chalupsky. Oscar, your South African name, you just go with Chalupsky because it's phonetic, and us idiots on this side of the pond can figure it out. Well, that's 2 ponds over. But how do you actually say your last name?
It's funny. I mean, we still try to get the source of it, but the bottom line is comes from Polish, Hungarian, Czech, and it's Chalupsky.
That's why we don't say it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And Chalupsky, if I said, hey, my name's Oscar Chalupsky, how do you spell that? Chalupsky. I mean, it'd be, and it's funny. I see people, and I actually see a Polish guy, and I say, you know how to say this name. And he says it to me, and the people, my friends sitting next to me, what? That's not your name. You're Chalupsky. You're not Chalupsky. I mean, how's that different? Yeah. So that's the background. As I say, my father was in the Second World War, and my father was in the Second World War, but my grandfather was in Germany, and my grandmother was from Hungary, and she actually lived to 103. So I've got longevity genes, and she lived on her own till 103 on a third-story apartment. And as soon as she moved into a home, she died. She just lost. That's
what happens, man. My grandfather died at 93. He was fine right up until the end. As soon as he had to slow down, and he stopped doing yard work, and boom,
done.
Within a year, he was dead. It's crazy. He just went downhill. Because you take a man like that worked manual labor his whole life, he still had muscle on his body in his 90s. And you look at that and you go, yeah, he didn't have the ravages of losing muscle, and he just kept it going. As soon as a couple of ailments happened, he's sitting around. Sarcopenia just came in, and before long, that's it. Beginning of the end. It's crazy. Oscar, speaking of bad health, you are, again, world-class athlete. Then one day, all of a sudden, you're not feeling well. Take us through the process because I've talked about my process with leukemia. I was getting ready for a 500-mile nonstop bike race, and then all of a sudden, the doctor told me, you're going to die. You need to get a PICC line in you, and we need to start pumping you in 2 days. And I'm like, you're crazy. I just rode 200 miles on my bike today.
Well,
what happened to you?
My story is similar to you. Mine's very similar to you. So what happened is that, and funny enough, this is going 2 years. I did the river race called the Fish River Marathon, which is about a 60-mile race, 2-day race. My brother and a guy called Andy Leith. And I finished that race, and I was sitting, I never forget, reading the Sunday Times in South Africa. And suddenly I felt this pain in my back. I was like, oh, okay, I'm sitting wrong. I was sitting outside in South Africa, and then the pain never went away. And then I went to every single person. Hey, this is a pain. But understand, you and me, we're sportsmen, and pain is like, goes with the territory.
Yeah.
You know, you're training 4 or 5 hours a day, a bit of pain, it's not going to be a big deal, and your pain threshold's up. And I thought, Jesus. Then I came back to Portugal, and my physiotherapist, who does Ronaldo and all these kind of fancy guy, nice guy, and the nicest guy, he says, tried everything, it didn't go away. In fact, it used to get worse. I said, this is not right. I said, I want to go and have an MRI. So they did an MRI, and they did on my lower portion of my back, and there was nothing. So then I flew out to Australia to race in a big race called the Doctor, 450 entries, and it was painful. I couldn't sleep. The only thing I could do was paddle, run, or stand up. Couldn't sleep. 5 minutes, pain. So I wasn't even sleeping. I did no training. The doctor said, "Oh, Oscar, you know," they always say, "You 56. What the hell are you doing training? So just relax." And I didn't do any training. I just raced, paddled, and that's the only time I got relief. So when the big bags came, I'd carry the bags off the airport, and I was like strong and everything. But coming to sleep, I'd lie on my bed, I'd get 5 minutes sleep. Wow. The pain would go from my back into my chest, and that was it. So I'd stand up sleeping. So if I got 10 or 20 minutes in the night, it was perfect. They started, so then I went to the specialist in Australia. They said, "Oh no, what's happening is when you're sleeping, your body's cooling down and it's pinching a nerve. That's why you're getting all these nerve pains in the front of your chest." Oh, it made sense. So they tried to do this and nothing worked. And I was taking painkillers, and I said, they don't work. So for me, Vinnie, you give me a pay. If it works, I use it. If it doesn't, I throw it away.
Right.
And they were giving me all this kind of shit. I said, it's not working. I'm throwing it away. I'd rather just bear the pain and not have shit in my body. So, and I was racing the races, and I was doing fairly well. I was coming like top 10 or 15 in the world, which is not too bad for a 56-year-old against the youngsters. And then the main race, what happened normally, we had to catch a ferry from, people know Perth, from Perth to Rocknest was about a half-an-hour ferry. And of course, I just stood up, and I felt all right. And then I got on my Surfski, and I warmed up, and I'm like, gee, but this pain's not going away today. And I had nearly said, I think I'm not going to race, because this is strange. I mean, normally the pain goes away when I was doing exercise. So I went to this big boat, which was going to take my kit back to Perth. And I like 2 miles, but the wind was blowing. And if the wind's blowing, surfski sport is about brain, about surfing. I said, I'm here, wind's blowing, can't do any harm. Yeah, let me do it. So I start this race, and I'm in pain. And eventually, obviously the wind starts blowing, and I'm loving it, and I'm going so fast, and I'm catching everybody. I start last because I can hardly paddle because I'm in such pain, and then it loosens up a bit, and I catch up, and that's in my age group. I think I finished like 28th or something in the world out of 450 world-class athletes, and I was coming to start. I was getting so excited to catch all. I was catching all the people, and I think, okay, let me go and let me win it. And then I think, this is still got a lot of pain. I don't think I'm going to do it. I finished the race. I got an airplane. I flew to Portugal. And I said, listen, there's something wrong. I went to an MRI, and then they filmed this part. Right. And you know, the radiologist just does the photographs, and the radiographer and the radiologist. And I said, hey, what is good? I couldn't lie in that MRI for long enough for them to do the things. So I had to push. It was that bad. That bad. I mean, and again, I can take pain. I said, no, I'm going to keep this still. And I was thinking, oh, that's getting mad. And I said, that bad. I couldn't 4 times. And then they put the solution in my blood to see everything. And she just said, look. And there was this tumor, just the size of a golf ball, pushing on my spinal cord. So that's why I was in such pain. And the radiologists, they usually stone face you. They won't say anything. No, they won't. You see, they say nothing, but she said, look here. She just looked, and there was pushing on my spinal cord. And I said, okay, at least we know. But then I know a lot of radiologists around the world, and I sent them the images, and they said, this is not good. 4 to 6 months, go go to where you've got the most support, because you got 4 to 6. This is a secondary cancer. This is all over you. It's metastasized. That's why it's there. View history. And my close friend Nello from Nello Kayaks, the guy who sent me for the MRI said, no, I can't tell Oscar this. This is terrible news. I can't. He's a good friend. And they said, no, you're in trouble. The only way, and I spoke to Eric Borgnes, the same guy who put me onto keto. He says, Oscar, go to a place where you've got a lot of support and you're in trouble. But remember, this is the secondary cancer. We've got to find what has caused this, because that's killing you. So from saying 4 to 6 months, I said, okay, I'll go to South Africa. So I said, oh, can I go? I'll go next week. You know, me, like you, a bit of pain. 2 is nothing, it's cancer. Yeah. And, you know, it happened on the 25th of November, 1 day before my wife's 60th.
Oh.
Can you imagine? She got the news. And we're sitting on that couch just right there. And she said, she's crying. She said, no, I'm not going to do my, I organized a surprise 60th party in a fancy hotel up there. And she said, I'm not going. No way. What is going on? I said, listen, I'm alive. What I've done in my 56 years, nobody's going to do. And I'm happy. At least I've got 4 to 6 months. What the hell? And you've got a 60th birthday. Let's do it. So and a lot of tears, you can imagine. And then we did the party. We did all that. And then I said, okay, when must I go to South? He says, you've got to go faster than you think. So we went to South Africa and then went to Grooterskia, where Tim Noakes did his training, where Christian Barnas did the first transplant. And I organized, because again, it's quite difficult to get the best surgeons in the world. And I got the best surgeon in the world, back specialist, because they thought, okay, they're going to take a biopsy from this tumor and see where it was. And I was lucky, a guy called Greg Simons said he suspected, and all my blood levels were good for PSA and all those kinds were good. He said, let me just test it, test for TB, it's all these things. And eventually 1 hour before I was going to have an operation, and you know, and when you go to hospitals and have an operation, you can always have complications. They said, sure, let's do a bone marrow biopsy. I suspect you've got multiple myeloma. He suspected it. Did that 1 hour before, and I'd signed all the paper. If you die, it's like 3 doctors there, all the professors. He says, if you die, that's your own fault, you know, the normal things that you have to sign in hospitals. And they picked it up and said, no, you've got multiple myeloma. Even then I thought, multiple myeloma, what is that? I've got no idea what this is. It's Mickey Mouse. So when can I start paddling? Yeah. He's asked, is it 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks? He says, no, a little bit longer than that. And there's a lot longer than that, you know. So, and that's how I found out. And through the whole thing, I never gave up. It's not hope. I never gave up and said, listen, I'm going to carry on doing my sport, doing everything I believe in, reading people like you and Tim Noakes and all the keto guys about cancer. And the thing that floored me the most, I'd say, is that how the hell did I get this? There I was, a keto, I fasted, I was in shape like you cannot believe, and I caught multiple myeloma.
I'll tell you how. I actually know why. Because as I always say, cancer don't give a fuck.
Yes.
It doesn't care race, color, creed, religion, how well you've eaten. Cancer does not care. Cancer's cancer. It's the biggest gangster in the world. It will do what it's going to do. Even to you, a guy that's been doing it since you were born. Yeah. Right? It just, boom, there you go. That's how it happens. Yeah. And
it was a shock to me. And obviously lots of people, because I was like this man, party hard, drink hard, have fun, train hard, tough as nails, win at 49. And then suddenly you got cancer. I mean, a lot of people took serious strain on my behalf, which, I mean, I'd say I always appreciate all the people's help out there, and support is magnificent and it's good for you, but I never thought it would happen to me. You always say, oh, look at this guy, he's been smoking, he's been doing it, but suddenly it hits you between the eyes and life stops. And the funny thing is, life stops for good reasons as well, because I mean, you're always pushing the limit. You're always doing too much. You're always thinking you and unbreakable, unbeatable. And then suddenly this hits you and says, this is it, boy.
Yeah.
You're not going anywhere. This cancer's got your measure, and you better work it out how to control it and how you can overtake it. You know, and the worst thing was, it was in the middle. I got this diagnosed on the 25th of November, went to South Africa in December. In March, COVID broke down. So there I was on my own, nobody, COVID, lockdown, hard lockdowns, couldn't walk, couldn't do anything, nothing in South Africa. It was huge, hard lockdowns. And hospital, no visitors, no nothing. It was like, you couldn't have had it at a worse time. You know, I mean, you want support, but you've got no support because of the lockdown and COVID. COVID was mean in South Africa. You weren't even allowed to go on the beach. You weren't allowed to walk outside your house for 6 weeks, not walking outside your house.
That's crazy. We were never, you know, well, California and New York have those kind of crazy things. I'm in Virginia now, and, you know, we just have regular precautionaries. You can walk outside, you can be out in fresh air. As a matter of fact, I heard about your cancer through, there's this guy, Dave Dolak, online. He calls himself Dave the Kayaker. And, you know, we were just paddling one day in the spring. It was because I'm a wimp. I won't paddle during the winter because I have a possibility of falling out, and hypothermia is not what I'm looking for. Exactly. And but Dave will paddle all winter. You know, it could be 10 degrees out Fahrenheit, and he'll just keep paddling. And so I'm in the springtime, and he's like, "Hey, you hear about Chalupsky?" And I'm like, "I haven't heard from him in a while." And he goes, "Yeah, he's got cancer." And I'm like, "You mean like a touch of cancer?" He goes, "No, he's got full on. He's talking about it. He's online talking about it." And I'm like, "So people know this?" I mean, he goes, "Oh yeah, he's talking about it." I had no idea because I just do my stuff online and move on. I can't stand to look at the computer any longer than I have to do my own social media, which is kind of sad, you know, because I'm not keeping up with anyone else. And I came home and looked at him and went, "Oh, geez." And then when I got a message from him, he was like, "Hey, I'm still alive." I went, "Oh, he's still alive. Let's do a show." It was great. But man, it's scary stuff. Where are you now? Because I've seen some videos and you weren't looking good there for a minute. You look great now.
Yeah, I mean, so the cancer regime, because so the first thing they did, so once they knew I had this tumor and knew it was multiple myeloma, so they hit it with radiation. That was 10 days of radiation, and I was on morphine. I mean, the only way I could, and thank goodness I'm not addictive personality when it comes to that thing. So I was on morphine to stem the pain, and I never forget, on the 25th of December, I had my last morphine in 2019. And the pain went away. And I thought, thank goodness, I could sit and eat at a restaurant. Can you imagine driving a car? The furthest I could go was 4 minutes, get out in the middle of the highway, get out, stand up and say, "Okay, give me a chance. Let me just get this out," and then go for another 5 minutes. That's how far I could, that's how the pain. It was proper pain, you know? So it was unbearable, unbelievable, and difficult. So I couldn't sit in a restaurant, I'd be standing, okay, and then eating, standing like that. And the pain was excruciating. But after about 7 radiation shots, they think, and then I started every week for 2.5 hour chemo, three kinds of chemotherapy for 6 months, many 6 months. And the funny thing is, I never let it beat me. I used to have that chemo, and I like my wine. Finish that chemo and finish it like 12 o'clock at the day. Claire and I would have a bottle of wine. To start off with the radiation, that killed me. I couldn't eat or drink anything because
that stuff is horrible.
It burnt my esophagus, so I couldn't taste anything. So the only thing I could do was very expensive red wine, and Guinness was the only things I could have for 2 weeks. And then I got over that, and I always chased my chemo away with some wine, red and white, and that's how I did it. Then I had my bone marrow harvested for my stem cell transplant. And then I had my bone marrow transplant. And listen to this. The guy next to me, such a nice guy. He was in charge of the forestry department at Table Mountain Reserve. Table Mountain, you know. And can you believe it? He got COVID next to me and died.
Oh,
1 week, yeah. So it's such a nice guy, Anthony. And it was like, and there I was there. When I went for my transplant, I was driving to the hospital because you're in isolation units, individual. They closed the whole thing because they got COVID. So I had to drive back. So everything was like delayed and I was going through all. So it was like a living nightmare. And this poor guy, and I really got to know him, he was getting the same injections the same times. And he was like 3 days ahead of me. He got COVID, and then the lady came and said, listen, he passed away. And it was shocking because, I mean, there was such a nice guy. He was 58 and salt to the earth, hacking guy, was in the army in the same time as me, and he died next to me there. And then after you have this transplant, I mean, you are on death's row because they, as you know, they try and kill you and then give you stem cells back. And I think it worked well. And obviously they make I can actually compete in the transplant games, by the way. So that's what I'm going for, the transplant game, because it's the funny thing, it's a heart transplant was 1 day. This is 3 weeks because it just takes so long. I mean, I got out of that hospital after 3 weeks and I hate hospitals. Yeah. I never ate any of their carbs. The dietitian was saying, no, you got to have this. And I look at the contents of this yogi sip kind of thing, and it's 80% carbs. I say, no, I just had eggs. And if I didn't want eggs, I ate nothing. And they said, no, you can't do it. I lost 15 kilos, but I was still feeling good. I just didn't want those carbs. When I came out, hey?
Let me ask you, I don't want to skip past this. These people kept dying around you from COVID. Did you get COVID at all? Or
no, thank goodness.
How did that happen? How did you not get COVID?
I mean, and again, you take precautions. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to be realistic. As I say, my wife obviously your family gets more anal than you and checking out things. And again, I just believe if you get your social distancing right and you're out in the open, you shouldn't get COVID. I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to be careful. And if you go and touch things, wash your hands and do all the rudimentary, simple things that I did. And I touched wood, it passed me. And funny enough, my brother was one of the first COVID people. Listen to this. I was in Dubai airport. He knew about COVID when it hadn't started. He was like number case out of the whole world, maybe 200. But when I went to Dubai airport and I happened to be flying back, he said, they've told us, keep 2 meters. I kept 2 meters away from him. The whole of them had COVID. Claire and I had no COVID. We just kept our distance, even in Dubai airport.
Your brother got COVID too?
Yeah, he was one of the first guys in the whole world.
Is he okay?
No, he was absolutely fine. I mean, they took strain. For a week or two, he was, and he's a strong, very strong paddler and a very strong guy. They took strain. But they went to isolation when they came back to South Africa, and I never got it, which is fortunate. But funny enough, having said that, I have known so many of my friends that have died of COVID, which is such a pity.
Yeah, it's so, it just seemed to, people were talking about it. And at the beginning here in the States, they were going, oh, mask, no, we're going to do a 2-week thing. And my sister-in-law, I have a famous sister-in-law. She's a British actress, Kristen Scott Thomas. And she was in New York and she was coming to stay with us for 2 weeks. And she called us from New York. She goes, hey, she was doing some promo for a movie or something she had done. She goes, I'm going right back. I'm going back to England. And we're like, what? She goes, no, this is, because she has a friend who works for a big media company. And they said, Kristen, get on a plane, get back here, because they're going to be shutting down airports. And we're like, I actually got in front and said, Kristen, look, if you don't want to come hang with us, that's fine, but don't make up stuff. And she was like, no, I don't think you understand. This is happening. It turns out her brother, Kristen and Serena's brother, was already here in town with us. And he said, well, obviously I'm going to stay. We're eating some great food here. This is good. He got stuck here for 3 months. She did the right thing by getting on a plane and getting out. At the beginning, nobody knew what was going on.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knew. It was shocking. So after my transplant, and I was going through the COVID, and then my wife had to look after me, I could walk, listen to this, and now this is the strong, I could walk 800 meters and it would take me 24 hours to recover from an 800-meter walk.
Wow.
That's
800 meters is not, that's a half a mile.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a half a mile.
Exactly. That's all I could do. But it would take me all day the next day to get up that courage to go and do it again, 800 meters. And I would just do 800 meters and come back, and I was sweating, and I was playing, and it was in the middle of winter in Cape Town, which is fairly chilly.
Wow.
And it's like the people say, oh, this transplant can. I think the reason why the people don't tell you how bad this transplant is because it is bad. I mean, you just on your deathbed, and slowly every day 800, then 1 kilometer, and then eventually probably got to 1 mile, and just slowly built up, and then I was on. Now, so this happened. So then I'm doing well, and then suddenly, I don't know if you see, I get skin rash like you cannot believe. It looks like I've got Mars on all my arms and all my back and my legs.
I saw your legs. I saw a photo of your legs.
That is terrible. People are saying,
Yeah.
how can you show that? But I mean,
Yeah.
that was the truth. So then I put me on cortisone. So now I get over that, and then I'm doing well again, and I just slowly keep on going. And then they put me on. Listen to this. It's every time. This is it's like maybe unlucky or lucky. So then they put me on a thing called Rivlomed. It wasn't allowed in South Africa. It costs about $5,000 a month. This pill. It's part of Rivlomed is the real name, and lenalidomide is the generic. So they put me on this generic, and all that this generic does to me is like a chemo pill that you take 21 days on and 7 days off. And all it did is just got all my cancers in my skin come out. So they cut my ear off, by the way. So my ear's been cut off here, cut off here. I got a big cut here. They just started cutting me apart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so everything, they just kept on cutting pieces out and say, okay, this is the skin specialists loved it, and the plastic surgeons loved it. They did a good job. I mean, I think
You're like the Van Gogh of sports.
Yeah, exactly. I've got it. But I mean, so when I came back to Portugal, then funny enough, I was trying to get back to my home, which is in Porto, Portugal, where Nello's head office is, and no flights. Couldn't get on a flight. Emirates canceled all flights from Africa. You couldn't fly from Africa to Europe. And I wanted to get back just to get a second opinion from the Portuguese doctors. And I came in and said, listen, you can't have a pill that's causing you skin cancer like this, like crazy. It was just coming out and said, okay, we're going to cut this and get this. And they said, no, we'll go on a different medication. And as you see, I'm feeling a lot better, a lot stronger. I'm having my chemo, and I don't believe what they say you're supposed to happen is not happening. And my wife said, how are you feeling? I said, I'm feeling good, not bad. I mean, look at me. And then I go and train, I do my CrossFit, I go and paddle 10 or 20 kilometers. You're crazy, you're supposed to lie down when you have chemo. I said, no, you lie down, it's for the dead. And funny enough, just yesterday I posted a post, because when I go to these chemotherapy sessions, I see 100 patients, all with drips, all with no hair, some weak, some got support, and then this dreary place. And I said, listen, just put some music. So I walk into the chemo ward, and I'm English, but I say, hey, bon dia. Not a person even says hello. And I try and lift the spirits, because that's what you need. You need this lifting spirit. And I think that's the one downside of the cancer people. They think, oh, cancer, death wish. So you mustn't have nice music, mustn't have nice paintings on the wall. I think it should be like that. Like I do. My paintings on the wall, and my life is about being in the ocean, having fun, and really promoting it. And funny enough, it's a terrible thing. When I come out of there, I sat there and I think, jeez, I've got to weep for these guys, you know?
Yeah, you know, I remember when cancer got real for me, you know, they took me off of, literally, I got called off of my bicycle on an actual 200-mile training ride. And I went right to my friend's house. She was a doctor. She was a cancer specialist. And so she goes, you need to get to my house immediately, because I had had the bone marrow biopsy a few days before. And I'm like, this can't be good if she's getting me off of my bike and calling me to her house. This can't be, but it can't be bad. I mean, I was just riding the crap out of a bike. So I thought maybe, you know, maybe they found out I had AIDS or something, which I couldn't understand why I would have AIDS. I don't sleep around and all this kind of stuff. And So, because we didn't know what was wrong with me. And I got there and she goes, well, you have leukemia. And that really didn't hit home. And then she said, you're going to get a PICC line, you know, where they put the line in and goes into your chest.
Correct.
And that really didn't get, and then she goes chemo. And that got my attention because my grandmother died of cancer when I was way young, but I remember how the chemo just ate her up. And I was like, oof, hopefully this chemo is not the same stuff my grandmother used to have. But the thing that hit home was when I went to the hospital to get that PICC line installed in my body. You walk in and it's gray. It's great. And the people are gray. And everybody's hooked up to a bag of this chemical, this juice. And I'm looking around going, holy shit, man, this just got fucking real. This is not a joke. And all I could think back, I thought back to 3 days earlier. It's like, can I just go get back on my bike? Because I was okay when I was in the sunshine on my bike. I literally turned to my friend Patty, Dr. Patricia Gardner. I said, Patty, let's just leave here right now. Let me just go get back on my bike. I just need to get to 5 minutes before you called me. And I think I'll be okay. And she goes, unfortunately, you're dying. And it just, it doesn't hit you until you see it, right? And then it hits you. It's right in your face. And man, shit got real fast.
And it does. I mean, again, like when you're on your maintenance and you don't go to, and then you go there and you just see all the people with scarves and wigs, and you just think, gee, they doing it tough. And I mean, again, as I say, so there's two things that I've sort of implemented to help those people. Now, one, I've set up a fund called the Multiple Myeloma Fund in South Africa. It's called Fighting for Cancer, and it's a multiple myeloma fund. And then I'm writing a book finally. So being a 12-time world champion, and we co-writing it with a guy called Graham Spence, who wrote a book, and you must read it. You'll love it. Called Elephant Whisperer. Write it down. You'll love it. Elephant Whisperer. And Graham and I go back so far that he took the photograph of myself and Tom Selleck at Outrigger Canoe Club in Hawaii. So we go back a long way. So he knows me of being this tenacious guy, and he writes fantastically. So I hope it's a bestseller. And then we're going to, part of the funds will go to the multiple myeloma, because I am fortunate, but in South Africa, it's multiple myeloma is one of the most expensive cancers to get, because the only way you can treat it is with money. You've got to throw money at this problem. And a lot of in South Africa, we got a 40 to 50% unemployment rate. And it affects blacks more than whites. Can you believe that?
Really?
And yes, yeah, that's a fact. I mean, and I hope that in a small way I can help. I mean, at the end of the day, what can you do? I mean, I'm trying to uplift people through social media and telling them, listen, you've got to have the mindset. The mindset is the most important thing. I mean, I get so many terrible stories of people they can't even take this. The latest friend, Dries. He's trying to go for his bone marrow transplant, but he's too weak to do it. And it's a mindset, you know. It's like you feel such pity for them. And then the young people. Then another guy is 23. 23's got it, and he's coming back to South Africa for his last ride, and I'll help him. I had a friend of mine, Greg Woods. He got a Burkitt's lymphoma, which is similar, and went through the whole process. He was going well. Suddenly, he got a brain tumor. 20 beats of radiotherapy. 1 week later, gone. Close friend.
It's just it's so sad.
Yeah, it's so sad. And again, it makes you cross, because I still think the medicine's still not looking at eating healthy to cure a lot of things. I mean, I love that book. You know that book, Tripping Over the Truth. Yeah. Fantastic book by Hansen, where they say at the end of the day, cancer is metabolic. I mean, I'm sure a lot of these cancers can be cured and in remission through eating and doing what you're doing. I mean, at the end of the day, I love fat, I love keto, and I love trying to be healthy. My only vice is my wine, which is not a bad thing, just a little bit of carbs.
Well, you got to live for something. Yeah, you know, I talk about that. You and I talked about it off the air, but they told me my cancer, they said, look, we knocked it into remission, which means you have a percentage. We just can't see it. But we'll keep checking you twice a year. And whenever it comes back, it'll come back between. So where they said, if you make it 4 years, consider yourself lucky. Some people make it 5 years. And I said, because I'm competitive, what's the longest? And the doctor kind of squinted and went, there's some guy we've heard about. He's gone like 9 or 10 years. But don't expect that. If you get 5 years, you're lucky. We'll give you chemo every 5 years. We'll keep knocking it back. And you'll do that until the day you die. Well, I'm 14 years out. So
you got the record, Vinnie. Another record. Put it down there, boy.
It's not even about it's not about the record. It's why is no one else studying me and going, what did you do? Or why you? I get it. I'm an N1 experiment. The young lady who does my Sunday show with me, Gina Grad, I do 5 shows a week here, Oscar, and her dad got the same cancer I got, the same exact leukemia. He's no longer with us, and that drives me nuts. And she couldn't even see her dad. He went into a coma during the COVID thing and the whole thing, but he didn't get COVID, but she couldn't even go in the hospital and see her dad for the last 7 or 8 months because of COVID. She would, whenever they would put him in an ambulance, she would be waiting because he would have to go back to the hospital and back to the convalescent home. And she would just wait for the guy to come out in the ambulance and hug him and kiss him on the way back into the hospital or back. Can you imagine this being your life? Yet no one is paying attention to a guy who's done 2 movies about high fat, low carb. I'm working on my 3rd movie right now.
Fantastic.
The 3rd movie, I can't, I got to tell you this. I'm so proud of the first movie. I got the hat on right now, Fata documentary. You got to watch that.
I'm going to.
It's in South Africa. And then there's Fata documentary too. All the people like Nina Teichos, who was at Tim Noakes' trial, she's in it. Gary Taubes is in it. Eric Westman's in it.
All of them.
You know them all. The guy from
Jason Fung, no.
I didn't get Jason in it because I couldn't get him to do the interview because I was doing all the interviews in one spot. Ian Felt from Norway or whatever, he's in it.
Yeah, Ian Felt, from Keto Nutrition.
Keto Doctor.
Keto Doctor.
Yeah, Diet Doctor.
Diet Doctor.
They're all in it. In both of those films. The 3rd film, the one I'm doing right now, is blowing both of those 2 away. As a matter of fact, my distributor is already saying, we're getting this in. I don't even have it finished yet, but I keep putting this stuff out because it matters. It really matters. And people need to see this stuff because, people say, why are you so fervent? Why are you so into this? Why are you doing this? It's like, because I got to live. One of the things I asked a nurse, I said, I have great insurance. I'm a young guy. I don't have it. I was 44 when I got cancer. So let's see, 14 years from, let's see, I'm 58 now.
Same as me, 1963, good model.
I'm a 62 model.
You're 62, older than me.
Yeah, I'm coming up on a birthday. So I was 44, 45, whatever, when I got the cancer. And I said to a nurse, I said, I have great insurance. I'm not married, whatever. What happens to people that don't have insurance or have bad insurance? And she goes, oh, they die. I said, well, what? She goes, people, they die. I said, so because of money or the lack thereof in this country, I was such a naive American. I was like, people are just, why can't they just give them the drug? Medicine, it costs money. I started giving money. There was one of my clients who was a celebrity in LA. I did a charity with them to give money straight to kids. We did all this stuff. And then I just decided, well, I can't do that. I have to go earn a living. So now I just give money to Children's Hospital because you got to do something. That's why I love, you talked about a charity here. I want to talk about that again. Which charity is it?
Campaign for Cancer, and it's a South African, and we specifically multiple myeloma. because it's so difficult. There's so many cancers. It's difficult. I mean, Lance did a fantastic job for all the cancers, but I want to be focused on cancers that I know are expensive and I know they're incurable. There's a lot of cancers out there. If the people just ate the right food and got given the right advice, could cure a lot of these cancers. I mean, brain cancer sounds very bad, but if you treat, that's so metabolic. If you just do a low carb, proper fasting, you can cure that cancer. And that book, Tripping Over the Truth, mentions it, So this cancer is incurable at the moment. And my goal, number one, is to raise money for research to help the poor guys in South Africa. And the more research, the more chance of me finding a cure so that I can live longer. I mean, as I say, multiple myeloma, they give you 5 years at 50%, and then it goes down like that. So, and again, you never know. You don't know what cards you get dealt, and I'm trying to live every moment and do everything right. And again, I go to the doctor and they say, "You're not eating." He says, "No, you're going to have this Velcade injection. You're going to eat." And I said, "What for?"
Yeah,
it's not doing anything. Why must I eat? It's just causing problem. I want my whole body to fight this thing. So if I'm eating, my basal metabolic rate is using all my energy to get this cancer. Yeah. So I said, "Hey, I'm not eating." "Oh, that's very strange. You sure?" And they still don't know. The doctors still don't know. And I would love them to do research.
And they won't, instead of suing Tim Noakes, they should be paying attention. I'm going to do a quick ad here and then we're going to end the show. But I want you to give your cancer thing again, in case anyone, we have a bunch of people in South Africa that pays attention to this, but I think people can give from all over the world, right?
Yes. So they can donate everywhere. I mean, if you go campaign for cancer, it's pretty easy. And as I say, my book at this stage, the title is No Fear and No Surrender.
By the way, do you have a copy of my book? Because you could.
I'll get it.
Okay. It's fitness.
Is it audio? Have you got audio book as well?
It's audio. Yeah, you could get Fitness Confidential audio worldwide. It was up for Audible Book of the Year way back when. I'm bragging about it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it talked.
An Oprah show.
Yeah, don't talk about the Oprah show. Anyway, you can go check it all out. I talk about being on the bike, training people, and then almost dying. So you might get some inspiration from that.
No, anything that can help.
It still gets handed out in cancer wards all over the world. So people somehow they hang on to that book and go, "Wait, this guy was almost dead, and he's riding a bike again." So go check it out, folks. I got to talk about. Let's see. I did Belcampo. Oh, Villa Cappelli olive oil. I got to remember the people that pay for this show. Villa Cappelli. They've been around since almost the beginning. Best olive oil on the planet. There's no seed oil mixed in. It's just simply the best. When I've had people like Dean Carnesi on this show, I was talking about Villa Cappelli. I saw Dean pull a pen out and he's writing something down. And at the end of the show, he goes, because Dean is Greek, he goes, "Is this olive oil really that good?" I said, "Yeah, it's better than good." The Greek god, Dean Carnesi, was writing it down. Villa Cappelli, this stuff is the pure stuff. It comes right out of Puglia, Italy. You'll love it. Go get it. It's the stuff we use here. At my vitamin company, I use it in my vitamin D3. You have to mix D with an oil. I don't put seed oils in there. I use Villa Cappelli. I buy the stuff by the drums. Go check them out. Villa Cappelli. You want to save 10%? Put in promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, 10% off every single time. Promo code Vinnie, VINNIE, Villa Cappelli. Let them know we sent you. Oh, by the way, if you spend more than $100 there, you also get free shipping. VillaCappelli.com, the longest running sponsor on this show, and we can't thank them enough. By the way, if you guys want to check out some really cool kayaks, my buddy Dave Dolak, Dave the kayaker, has a Nilo, and I've paddled it several times. You got to go check it out. He's got a plastic Nilo because he uses it in rivers, and he doesn't want to bang it up on rocks. Great paddling boat, by the way. I love your boats, Oscar. You guys do. And we use the surf skis in the river, by the way. It's they're the best boats when you want to go fast for a long period. How are you guys doing over there with the boats?
No, the LCHF is doing fantastically well. I mean, the whole sport, in fact, COVID, the one thing about COVID I mean, you can always look at the bad things and not being out there, but the one thing it does has brought people back to earth. And what I'm saying back to earth is suddenly people are cycling, playing golf, kayaking, they're doing all the things they always never had time to do because they were chasing the money and chasing the dollars and things like that. And now they realize life's more than just chasing the dollars. Get healthy, get out there, and it's amazing. We cannot keep up. I mean, surfski paddling is going through the roof. Even though we in our little bubbles, we can't, like South Africa, Europeans can't travel to America, we can't travel to Australia and things like that. But what it's doing is bringing people back to nature, back to outdoors, and back to getting fit. And they really realizing the benefits of being fit, like you and I have been doing it all our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, folks, if you ever want to watch great videos, just go put into your Google machine, Oscar Chalupsky. Do not try to do or whatever that is. And you can know zero about paddling a boat. And after you do 5 or 6 or 7 videos, you're going to feel like you can coach it because I see Oscar in Hawaii and the pools and everything else teaching people. When I first got my surf ski, I had a guy teach me how to paddle the thing and taught me how to use a wing paddle. What he didn't teach me was how to get back into a surf ski when you fall out. I learned that from an Oscar video. You know, I figured it all out. I got into a swimming pool and boom, before I knew it, I was doing it. And so I've actually learned stuff from you, Oscar. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Vinnie.
Before we go, one more time, let's give them that charity.
Campaign for Cancer and Multiple Myeloma. And then just to fill you in my movements, because they'll be watching, I'm going to go to race. Now I'll finish my chemo on Friday, today. And then I'll fly to Brazil to a place called Fortaleza, where the wind howls. And I'm doing a 4-day race, 18 kilometers, 32, and 52 kilometer race.
Wow.
In a surfski, just after my chemo. And then from there, I come back to Portugal, then off to South Africa to race in a K3, a 3-man kayak down a river. It's with my brother and a guy called Andy Leith, and we've won that race 5 years in a row in all our age groups. So this is a new age group we're going to go into, the over 55s. And we come about in the top 20 in the whole of South Africa at about 2,000 paddlers, and we 55 plus, you know. So you don't want to last still. You want to get out there and do things and push your body. And as I say, I don't know how I'll do, but because I haven't done much serious heavy lifting with this cancer, but I feel good. I mean, obviously I'm a little bit tired. What can I do? I mean, it's 1:30 in the morning or 12:30 in the morning here in Portugal, and I feel good, and looking at Vinnie looking good like that also inspires me to be good.
But you know what, Oscar, you faking it in a boat is probably better than most people could do if they're the most trained person in the world. So, I mean, your technique alone will get you where you need to get. By the way, this is not coming out this Friday. It's coming out next Friday. So I'll be
in Brazil.
So he'll be in Brazil at that point. So go follow this guy online. You're an inspiration to me, Oscar. Please keep up the great work. Hang on, I want to say goodbye to you off the air. Folks, if you like what's going on here, you know what to do. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, please go to VinnieTortorich.com. Click through the banner. It puts a little coal on the fire and it gets my train down the track. Also, we have a superfan page at VinnieTortorich.com. You guys giving to that page was the reason we didn't have to let one person go through the whole pandemic. We're able to keep everyone employed around here, and that's how we do it. I don't realize $1 from the podcast. I do it for free. I pay everyone else, and everything else goes into the podcast. So I appreciate you guys doing that. On behalf of Nilo Kayaks and Oscar Chalupsky, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with enthusiasm.